Welcome back to my video series where I teach you how to fly an FPV, freestyle, racing, acro, drone, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to teach you how to fly it. This video is one in a series. So if it feels like you've dropped in the middle of a conversation, that's why. There is a link in the video description below to the full playlist for the whole series. And if you're looking to learn from the beginning, that's where you should start. But if you're here for the topic of today's video, then let's get into it. In a previous episode, we worked on doing power loops, but we mostly did power loops in the open air, or I think we did some power loops over some trees. Today, we're going to increase the difficulty and the complexity just a little bit. And we're going to be doing that in the map called Bando City. There's a particular feature of this map that I really like to do power loops around. I think you're going to like it too. And the feature that we're talking about is just to the left of the starting location. It is this bridge. And I really like power looping this bridge in Liftoff. Number one, it is kind of realistic. Like there's lots of places in the real world where you could have some kind of a bridge like this to power loop over. But what I really like about it is that it's got features like this building on the right-hand side that really show us where we are in our power loop. And so it's great. It's a great exercise for making our power loops better. Like for example, in that one, like I knew I was going to screw that one up. I wanted to screw it up. Really, seriously, I screwed it up on purpose. I drifted outwards, right? We can really see, based on our relationship to the building, what the shape of the power loop is and what we need to adjust to get it to work correctly. So like this power loop has gone super wide, right? I might want to pitch back more and tighten it up and come down. That power loop wasn't very round. I came like up and then I came kind of straight down, right? And technically I did go around the bridge, but I didn't get a very round. That one was short. Oh, I almost hit the bridge. See, I didn't quite go back far enough. That one I really didn't go back far enough. So what I want you to do first is just get a little warm up by, well, just fly around and get warmed up, obviously. But then approach this bridge from either direction, it doesn't matter, and do some power loops. And what I want you to try to do is I want you to try to get those power loops as round and smooth as popular. Now, in the beginning, you should probably just do one power loop and then reset and do it again. So we'll do one power loop, we'll go back through, and we'll reset and we'll do it again. As you get better and better, you may be able to string them together. Like here, I can try and string some of them together. Stringing them together like that requires much more precise throttle control because you don't have that moment at the bottom where you kind of catch yourself and reset, and you don't have that moment where you kind of fly out of it. So here I come over the top and then I kind of fly out of it. And I don't really need to worry about the end of the move, like setting. I'm not immediately setting up the next one. So just do one power loop. Try and make it a perfect round power loop. Try to leave at the same altitude you entered at. So I'm going to enter like right at the altitude of this ledge right here, perhaps. And I'm going to try and finish at that same altitude. Here we go. Let's see how successful I am. Not bad. Not bad. Should hope so. Try to constrain yourself to the edge of the building. So I'm going to come up this edge of the building, and I'm going to come down, and I'm going to try not to swing wide. See, I've swung wide. I've gone way outside of the building, right? I'm going to try to stay right in the edge of the building and get some nice power loops to get myself warmed up. And when you've done that, come on back here, and we'll work on the next thing. The next thing we're going to work on is tightening up those power loops. So as a beginner, you often will come in, right? You'll fly under the obstacle, you'll go up, and you'll do a great big gigantic power loop, and you'll come down, and that's not like the best, right? I mean, that's okay, but it's not as impressive. So we're going to try now to fly under the bridge, and we're going to try to be closer to the bridge. Like we don't want to be literally skimming the bridge. This is going to be hard to do a power loop if we pass under it so close. But maybe we'll try to be at about the level of this floor right here, right? And what we're going to try to do is complete a power loop within a circle of about that size. So if I look below the bridge, here's this ledge right here, this floor right here. And if I go up, maybe we would be at approximately the height of this floor. That's actually a little bit higher, but we'll try and make a circle roughly within that sort of circumference. And like so, more or less. And what you're going to need to do in order to accomplish that is you're going to need to pitch back, like pull back more on the pitch stick. So for a big wide power loop, I'm not pulling back very far on the pitch stick. The quad is not rotating very fast. And I have a lot of time to sort of punch the throttle, climb and back over the top, and away we go. But as I start tightening up the power loop, that stuff all happens faster. And one of the things I need to do is I need to pitch back sharper. See, I didn't pitch back very sharp, and it was a bigger turn, or a bigger loop. I need to pitch back more. It's subtle. But what you want to do is you want to be looking at the building. That's why we're doing this here. You want to be looking at the building to your left or to your right, depending on which direction you're approaching from. And you want to adjust. So if it looks like I'm going high, I want to pitch back more and pull into the turn. Okay, if it looks like I'm going to miss by going high, I need to pitch back more, right? And if it looks like I'm going to be low, then I need to pitch back less, and I maybe need a little more throttle. So you see, I can, if I pitch back the right amount but don't give any throttle, then of course I'm just going to hit the ground. Before we go any further in this session, let me just make an argument to sort of justify this exercise. You say, well, why do I have to justify this exercise? And sometimes people say, well, why are we spending so much energy working on power loops? And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, well, I don't know, I'm not thinking that. Power loops are great. I love power loops. Fine, great. You don't need this section. But if you're thinking, why are we spending so much time working on power loops? The thing is that power loops really teach you to understand the thrust vector of the quad, how the motor's thrust is pushing the quad and how it's moving. And if you can get a really nice, tight, smooth, circular power loop, I think that speaks to your understanding. Oops, see, I screwed it up there. I didn't have enough forward. I think that speaks to your understanding of the quad's sort of general aerodynamics, maybe. And I think this is a really good exercise for teaching you that stuff. One of the problems that people run into with power loops is that they're coming out of the power loop crooked. So another thing I really like about this bridge is it gives us a nice square reference point to line up on and come through straight. So if I'm off to the side and I'm coming through crooked like this, then when I power loop back, I'm going to come back on that same angle. And I'm going to kind of spiral, and I'm not going to come back straight through. I need to adjust, and I need to flatten out. Okay? So make sure you're entering super flat, or you'll start to drift to one side. And of course, if you start to really understand what you're doing, you can make little adjustments to change where you're at. You could even theoretically do some kind of like a spirally motion where you're going across and then across again. But that's not an exercise I'm going to have you do just yet. Instead, what we're going to do next is we are going to put a little flip at the top of our power loop. Yep, I think this is really fun, and what that's going to look like is this. Again, open that power loop up again if you've been doing tight ones. We're going to come over the top, and when we're at the top, we're going to pull back on the pitch stick to do a flip, and then we're going to come out and hopefully finish the power loop. Let me try and get a good one. Those were a little sloppy because I was talking while I was flying. Let me try and get a good one. Right at the top, we'll do a flip, and we'll come down. Make sure that you are off throttle when you do the flip so that you continue the move. There we go. I think I wasn't going off throttle, again, because I was talking while I was flying. But what you want is to come up over the top, off throttle, do the flip, and you will continue that arc as you come over the top. Isn't that cool? That's kind of cool, isn't it? Try that. And what you want to do is you want to continually You want to continue that motion. Okay, that's what you want to see. Whoop. And then you're going to find that angle and come back out of it. Boom, 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 boom. And come back out of it and finish that. Could we do it with a roll? Come over the top, roll, and back through. Yes, we could. I personally don't think that looks as good. Something about the way the camera moves when we do that. Like this right here, halfway through, that's not a good look. Like there's nothing to see here. It's not that interesting, and I don't really like it. But we could do that. I've seen pilots like Phantom FPV, and they'll do like there's all kinds of, half flip, half roll, wacky stuff. What happened? I lost it. Oh, no. Now, we have been entering the power loop by flying underneath the bridge, but we don't have to do that. We can mix things up by entering from above the bridge and then doing a split S. And that would look like this. We'll fly over the bridge. We'll split S. We will power loop under the bridge and fly out. Wonderful. Just mixing up and putting together some of the things we've done so far. Fly over the bridge, split S, power loop. And that transition from the split S to the power loop is the challenge here. Managing your throttle. Like, it's not too hard to split S over the bridge and fly back under. I think a lot of people at this point in the series probably can do that. But making a smooth transition from the split S to now we are power looping over and coming back out. It might be challenging. Try that. Here's how we're going to end this session. You have done power loops. You have done power loops with a flip at the top. Now I'm going to show you one of my favorite moves, and it's called, I don't even know what it's called. Like, I think of it like a flick back. To do this move, let me show you what it looks like. We'll do a power loop, and we enter like a power loop, and then halfway through we pitch forward. So we're moving backwards. So basically we're doing a half flip to the front halfway through the move. And there's this sense of moving backwards that I really love. Eventually, you can actually do them kind of close to the ground, and they kind of look like this. And I kind of dig it. So you'll see me do these a lot in my freestyle lines. Sometimes you can even do a similar move, just kind of straight up into the air. And it kind of looks cool. But we're going to finish today by doing that move in a power loop. So you'll start your power loop, and then at the top you'll kind of hit the throttle a little bit to give you a little extra punch, and then lower the throttle and pitch forward like that. Right about here, just lower the throttle and pitch forward until we find that line again. And bear in mind that as long as you get this backwards movement here, now you're gonna move backwards once you lower the throttle. You've already got the backwards and the upward movement. And exactly how far you pitch forward is really up to you. If you go too far, it's not going to look interesting because you'll just be looking the other direction. So I like to kind of look down a little bit and look into the line, but exactly where you end up looking is going to depend on your preference. Also, if you're too slow to do it, you'll miss that opportunity to see yourself going backwards. So if I'm too slow, it kind of looks like that. And that's okay. Right, but I'm not seeing the most interesting part of the move, which to me is the float back and look at the line that this gap that I'm going into. There it is. There's my gap.